This episode of the podcast is brought to you by Canna Health.
Hey cannabis consumers, have you ever consumed a cannabis product thinking it'll make you feel a certain way, but then it doesn't? Don't you wish you had a clear understanding of your own DNA so that you could make informed decisions about what type of cannabis products interact best with your system? Well, now you can with EndoDNA. EndoDNA is a simple DNA test that maps your entire endocannabinoid system and then matches that summary with a specific cannabinoid ratio and terpene profile that best aligns with your unique genotype. Imagine being armed with personal information when visiting a dispensary. You'll have the knowledge and power and capability to purchase products that best align with your genotype. Visit their website to purchase the EndoDNA Collection Kit and Endo Decoded Report at endodna.com/products and use the promo code CONNECT15 for a 20% discount. Again, that's endodna.com/products and use the promo code CONNECT15 for a 20% discount. The future of cannabinoid therapeutics is here with EndoDNA. Baylee Chapo, what's going on?
Not much. Just I'm over in Austin, Texas, and it's the end of the workday, which is nice. So it's nice to get to talk to somebody at the end of the day. How about you?
Nice. Yeah, same here. Wrapped up the workday, the full workday, and then podcasting to me is kind of like meditation in a way. It's really nice for me. So this is what I do kind of to wrap up the day. And you're my only podcast today. So
nice.
It's good. Yeah. And I've formally, kind of know you before we actually exchanged direct messages as Beowulf on Twitter. And before we started recording, we talked about, how we'd followed each other and, the cannabis community within Twitter just seems to be continually growing, right?
It does. It's every day I see new every part of the industry. Honestly, there's new news people out there for cannabis, there's new content creators out there for cannabis, there's new products. So it's just the community on Twitter has just blown up for the cannabis industry.
It really has. Yeah. And you're seeing that among all channels, but especially obviously Twitter is more conversational based. And it's just great to see all the advocates and people out there. And you mentioned you're in Austin, and I got to ask you, aren't you originally from California? So what was the move like coming to Texas in a state where, there's a lot of good to come to the state, but when it comes to cannabis laws, very prohibitive, right? So what's your experience been?
Yeah. So when I announced I was moving to Texas from Southern California, everybody was like, what the hell is this girl thinking? Like everything she does has to do with cannabis. I've been blogging about cannabis and working in the industry for a long time. So it's been really strange. It's been like, I don't want to say like moving to a different country or anything, because it's not that extreme, but it's very different. It's been a bit of a adjustment for me because like my life was very focused around the cannabinoid THC when I was in California, but
Right.
Here in Texas, and luckily I always was interested in CBD as well. So this state has brought me a hemp industry, which I think is really cool. So for me, I've really focused on learning what does the state have, but it feels weird at the same time. I can't live the exact same life that I live in California. And it's just a different experience. Why not try new things? And I just wasn't afraid to have this change, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I think there's a lot of good of what you've kind of experienced, right? You got out of your comfort zone, you took on a big challenge, and it sounds like you've learned a lot in the process that's kind of added to your arsenal of information, as it relates to the cannabis industry, whether it's Delta 9 THC or Delta 8 or Delta 9 hemp derived THC, all the different names that probably are just crazy to you, right? Delta 8 to me, a year and a half, 2 years ago, I was like blown away. I'm like, this is a loophole, right? I don't know. What are your thoughts on all that?
Yeah. So, okay. So the first time I was approached about a Delta 8 product, I was in California, and it was kind of like a weird, not a weird experience, but this company that made CBD products brought up Delta 8 to me, and they said, would you try one of our Delta 8 products? And so they sent it to me and I tried it. And then I like didn't hear about Delta 8 again for like a year. And then I started hearing more about it, but I didn't really like try too many products. But when I arrived in Texas, Delta 8 was everywhere. And I
Right.
had been here like not a month, like about a month, when the dishes organization, they're the ones that caused everything in October, saying that Delta 8 was illegal. So since I've been here, I've just been like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like it's like watching like a tennis match. You're just like watching like the Delta 8 go legal, banned, legal, banned. Like, it's been like this total back and forth thing. So it's been really cool to see that the hemp industry in Texas does care enough to like really, really fight for these different cannabinoids to be legal. So yeah, Delta 8, it felt like a loophole at first, but now I understand, it's helping people
Yeah,
to
totally.
find lots of different relief. And I think that it's like a blessing of a loophole.
Yeah. When I
It's
say
getting
loop,
people.
yeah, I don't mean loophole in like a negative sense at all. I mean like it just shows the appetite for people wanting that psychoactive property that THC provides, and it's a loophole in a way that we as humans have found a way to yet again be, use our ingenuity and find a way around it to get what we need, right? Whether it be for medicinal or recreational leisure, I mean, however you consume it. And it's an amazing plant. It's crazy. What made you
Yeah.
want to dedicate like your career, on this path and focus on cannabis? I know you offer influencer marketing, you have a blog, photography packages. So what sparked that interest?
So I was working in the cannabis industry in San Diego, California, and I had been in the industry for a few years, and we were making the transition from Prop 215 to Prop 64, where everything went recreational in California. And so throughout those few years of like 215 and 64, I started seeing products coming out with like brands. Like for so long, it was just kind of like you get your baggie or whatever it may be, but then brands with like real packaging and like stories behind the company and all of this, it started coming out and it started feeling real. So I immediately found a passion in like showing people the new products.
Let me let
So
me let me pause real quick. Let me ask you, how long did that span? Like when you started to notice these brands coming to life and these origin stories and all that, did it take like a year? I mean, longer? What would you say?
mm, it was a couple years, because there are brands that started putting out packaged items and like product lines under Prop 215, and they made the switch to stay alive into Prop 64, which like the most like memorable few brands was like Cushy Punch was this company that made these little square like gummy things that pack a punch in the little thing, and they made the transition over into 64. So I still remember their line from before. But then a lot of like edible companies, when Prop 64 turned over, they had to change their dosage. So a lot of brands went through like restructuring of how their edibles were made. And so all of that just like, honestly, it fascinated me. I had never seen a industry start from, like it's like the ingredients in the kitchen all of a sudden being turned into a real product that's on the shelves in a store that you're going to go shop in. Like, I
Right.
don't know, it's really just cool to me. So I started posting all about the things I would get. Like I was a purchaser for a delivery service in San Diego, and I'd see all the new stuff come in. So I just started like kind of posting it. And
You were giving
over the
everyone a
year,
sneak peek, basically, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And I would always, note on like, look, this is like real packaging now. Like the Rice Krispie used to bought like in a cardboard box that's like embedded and has a cool logo on it. Like this is what it's coming to. This is incredible. So I
Right.
guess I just had like an excitement for it. And it just like that excitement snowballed. And now we're in 2022 and here I am. And I'm just doing, full-time blogging and photography because I just love taking the pictures to show to everyone. So over time, it just really turned into what it is. And now I have a bunch of content creators that I work with for influencer marketing for CBD and cannabis.
Yeah. Well, I definitely let's jump into that. I mean, that's a great transition into our conversation. Um, let's talk about W0lfpack, right? That's your cannabis focused agency. Tell us a little bit about the name behind that. Like, why W0lfpack? And then I know that even one of the social media channels is W0lfpack mentality. So what does that mean to you?
All right. So W0lfpack, it goes back a little further. So first was Beowulf. Beowulf existed long before W0lfpack. And that was just my personal page where, as I had mentioned, I just kind of started posting here and there, like the neat products I got. And it just like that page turned into my blog about cannabis products. And the reason why the name was even Beowulf is because my name is Baylee and my old dog, his name was Wolfgang. So it was Wolfgang and
Oh,
Baylee put together for Beowulf. And when I decided to start a business, I just kept getting the advice like, you kind of have this branded thing with the wolf, and like, like my boyfriend threw out W0lfpack is really, like it's what you're trying to do. Because I'm trying to find a way to connect consumers who are excited about products. So, which now we know as content creators and brands in the cannabis industry, and how can I bring them together? So it's like always trying to find a way to bring them together. And that's like wolf packs have a same thing. They're
like
together, in a pack.
collaborative. They're in a pack. They're
Yeah.
moving together. Yeah, yeah, yeah. They work
Mm-hmm.
together. They hunt together. Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
and they're all
So
after the
then
same goal, right?
exactly. And I think that's really important. I think that it was hard to find people that had that same goal when I was first starting the business. So I thought I'll put this business together and I'll connect people how I can. We did some networking events, but my true passion ended up lying in the influencer marketing space where I can help people that do content creation connect with brands, and we can build them beautiful content campaigns, and I can coach the creators, help them the best I can to deliver exactly what a brand's looking for. And along the way I help a lot of my brand partners like with social media, like how to use it and stuff like that. So it's
Mhm.
really just helping everybody in that type of space.
That's a very important role, I would imagine, right? Because I mean, I'm in the social media space, but when it comes to the content creation, the content creator directly working with the brand could sometimes and oftentimes be difficult, right? Because the content creator has his own vision or his or her own vision, and they're wanting to strive after one particular kind of angle, whereas the brand may want something completely different. So it's important for someone like you in your role to kind of help mitigate those conversations, be the liaison, soften the blows in some situations, and try to help these two parties work together, right? I mean, is that part of your role?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And what else? I mean, what other, I guess, challenges or, you know, really cool experiences or opportunities have you had working with content creators in cannabis and connecting them with those brands?
So it's just always really it's always really joyful when I can see that a creator that I have in my directory aligns with a brand like perfectly, and it's like we've made a match made in heaven for future content. And they're just we're always looking for brands that have like a really good, like not necessarily just their story but their why, like why does their company exist, because the truth is there's a million companies out there. But I just really like to connect people, so that always feels just like the best in general when I've made the right pairing. um, and with creators, I just love to see them successful. I love to see them grow in their content.
Hmm.
We bring on a lot of micro influencers that are still starting out and getting the hang of like really working in content. So that's kind of been like the coolest part as a whole. Like when I sit back, I mean, of course we've gone to phenomenal events and seen a lot of really neat things, but the best at the end of the day is helping people and like knowing that you helped them in something that they want to succeed in.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to be rewarding, right? To kind of see something from start to finish work for both sides, and I mean for everybody involved in the process. And speaking of the process, I know that you can't divulge too many secrets, but when you talk about your pairing process, like what does that look like? Like what are you how do you go about matching these content creators and brands together?
So there's definitely like a bit of a different formula for everything. And that's always going to be like, what's the brand? What's the products that they're looking to market? Because that's important. And then I kind of see like, what's their style? What's their aesthetic? What type of content are they looking for? And then I have my wonderful group of creators, about over 100 people, 100 creators that are in our like Slack workspace where we all talk about this. And I just kind of think, okay, I give everybody the opportunity to express interest when there's a new opportunity. So I can see who's interested, because I don't ever want to put someone uninterested on something. It's got to be like, it's like mutual consent. Like everybody has to agree to do a campaign, because that's the honest part of it. We don't want anybody, like posting just straight promotional. Like that's one thing that we steer away from. So I really look into like how well do I think that someone's going to align with the product based on, what do they already like to consume? If there's someone that likes tinctures, I know that that's a good product for them. There's people that really don't like Delta 8, that don't want to, try that kind of product. We'll have a brand that's all about creativity and art. So we've got artist creators that are great for that. It's just pairing the best we can, but still giving a wide variety of individuals to every campaign to make them as, interesting as possible. And it's not just one type of person that fits that fits each thing on its own, but like I said, it's a process, and I always just hope to make the best decisions, because when I do and it works out great for everybody, it makes me really happy.
Yeah, no, I think it's great that you keep all those factors in mind. I mean, there's so many times I know in regular corporate agency life, there's times where some employees will just get put on accounts that they're not passionate about. They're working with brands that they don't really care for, or in some cases even don't like, and it puts you kind of in an awkward situation. You want that person on your team to be passionate and focused and feel rewarded in the end for the work that they did, contributing to that brand message, right, or that brand's content. So
Yeah.
I think that's really cool. And speaking of passions, you touched on influencer marketing being one of your passions. And so I want to talk about that first, but I also want to talk about, your passion for social equity in cannabis. One of the, headshots you sent me, you're wearing a shirt that says corporate greed with an X over it. And you're talking about real social, equity. So let's first start with influencer marketing, and then we can switch over.
Sure, absolutely.
So yeah, tell me a little bit about, why you're passionate about influencer marketing, and what role that plays in your everyday, business.
Sure. Okay. So first of all, I was so against the word influencer for many, many years. And I still don't know if I even like the word. And I just need to start with that.
It's a
Because
buzzword. Yeah.
it is. And, I would try to word what my company did in any way I could without the word influencer. But a lot of the times people wouldn't understand what I was trying to say I did. And so, at the end of the day, it was influencer marketing. And that's when you get an influencer / content creator to post about a product on their social media, on their own, page. So why am I so passionate about it? Because I think I noticed how like fake it felt when I would watch, and see influencer marketing happen. And I just really didn't want it to happen to like this new industry, to this plant. I didn't want it to get like done the wrong way. I wanted it to be done honestly. I saw so many brands come out so fast. I just thought, how can we believe what anyone's saying when all they're doing is giving the facts about the product and no opinion or whatever? So I just wanted to give people more of a voice. So having an influencer marketing agency where people can be honest in what they say about products, but still market it, that doesn't happen that often. And, you know, we rarely get any bad feedback, but sometimes a flavor won't be right to someone or something. And like, they'll still say, this wasn't the flavor for me, but this might be great for someone who likes grape, you know? So
Right.
it's just, there's just a way of doing it where it's still somebody being authentic and giving their own opinion while talking about a product. So I think that's important.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. It goes back to, you know, other guests that I've had on the podcast, and this narrative that keeps getting echoed, and that's like, we're in this is a new industry, right? And the opportunity to start from scratch and to kind of build the industry in the way you want, or kind of how we see it working, as opposed to what's traditionally been done, you know, on the traditional corporate side of the house, it's a rare opportunity. And I think that's commendable that you put that front and center in kind of your mission, right? To go by doing the right thing and ensuring that transparency is in place and honesty. And I mean, I would imagine that's kind of what you have to recruit for as you're looking for these, you know, quote unquote influencers, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There has to be some type of alignment with that mission out of the creators that we work with. So of course there's an application process through all that, so we can find the people that are, you know, basically looking for the type of opportunities we're offering.
Yeah, I think that's a great model. Keep pushing for that, because, you know, hopefully it doesn't go to the wayside. But, you know, if it does early on, I feel like the cannabis consumer is very savvy, right? And kind of knows, like, if there's bullshit going on, or I don't know. I think just cannabis consumers are just more kind of self-aware in that way. But yeah, it's not going to work for others long term. So that's awesome. Tell me your stance on social equity now, for the other passion that we kind of touched on earlier.
So in this industry, it was something I didn't realize was happening, like as the industry grew. And I'm not talking about like just California or just Texas. I'm talking about like everywhere in cannabis, hemp. I just one day started to notice how unfair it all seemed. And it was like only the rich people, really, really wealthy people, that could get into certain industries. Like Florida was such a tough industry for a regular farmer to just get into once they started their program. Like I just kept seeing like people that I watched in California, like who had a farm under Prop 215, just get wiped out because they couldn't afford what was happening, and other people could step in and write one check and then do what this person's passion was for 20 years, you know? So I started seeing things like in every state that would go legal, I started seeing things like who could or couldn't work in the industry, like based on, you know, like past convictions or anything like that. I mean, and like California had stuff like that. Right now, Illinois is pushing really hard to allow ex-cons the ability to work in even just industrial hemp. Like it's
That's
not
so
even about the
crazy.
cannabis industry. So,
Yeah.
so when I start, the more I read, the more, of course, upset I become. And so I try to pick like a cause here and there to focus some energy into when I can. Put in like extra big forces of energy. So of course, right now I'm trying to help out the people of Illinois, because their market it's a pretty darn big market.
It's
And
doing great, right? I mean, it's thriving right
yeah,
now. Yeah. Those are all valid points, right? And I did see that you were helping online by gathering signatures for that petition, about the ex-cons in Illinois that are unable to work in industrial hemp. I mean, that's insane. Um,
yeah.
so when we think about like federal reform, like, there's been different bills that have been proposed, and I know that the cannabis, what is it, CAOA, um, has very high tax rate, right? Like I think it can go up to even 15%, 10 to 15%. So we're talking about that on top of, the state level tax, right? So it's just, to your point, it makes it so hard to enter with policy like that for someone who's been disenfranchised by the plant, because it really, what it comes down to is having capital, having money to start.
Yeah.
you know
And there's like nothing wrong with somebody who has money, but it hurts me inside very much to watch somebody who's passionate and get pushed out just because of money.
Right, right. Well, I mean, and it's wrong when you kind of run on the premise of social equity and then you implement, you know, different kind of like legislation within that bill that just doesn't make sense to help those type of people.
Yeah.
um I'm curious to see how kind of all that plays out. That's a whole separate discussion, but even at the state level, as more states come online, they really need to think about the tax rate and all these different other factors that could really implicate someone trying to come in who maybe not as affluent or wealthy as someone else, right? Or someone who has other resources, other means to get capital. So it's going to be interesting, but I'm glad that you raised that issue because it's very, very important. I know there's an issue that outside of the social equity discussion, going back to the marketing side, that I'm passionate about is, man, social media censorship.
Ooh, ooh.
Like, it's all over the board right now, and in my opinion, the genie's out of the bottle, and it's going to be very, very hard now to kind of figure out what these platforms are going to decide fits within their community guidelines and what doesn't, because it's just not working right now, and cannabis has been frequently in the crosshairs. So I want to ask you, what has been your experience with social media censorship, running an agency?
So okay, on a personal level, I've had 4 TikTok accounts deleted. I've had my personal Baywolf Instagram page disabled twice. Once was for like 6 weeks, the other was for like a day.
For what were the posts? What did you do? What was different in the
Okay.
posts that you ever than you do regularly? And this goes back to my point of like, it's a mess. So what did they say was
Yeah.
bad?
So I've had this thing happen on my account where the week of Thanksgiving and the week of Christmas, every year for the last 4 years on Instagram, out of nowhere, I get old posts removed for like this, like selling illicit drugs or whatever. And like I'm talking like I got a post removed this past Christmas week that was from like the year before. Like
And
the year before that, they came.
all you did was promote the brand. Like, you didn't tag like shopping options or anything like that, right?
No, I never tag shopping options. I don't even really like post discount codes or like percentages to say what kind of sale a company is having. That's one thing is like I don't I like I like to show people products. That's what I'm personally passionate about. So I don't really want to promote brand sales on like my personal page. So I've
Right,
always avoided any kind of numbers. I never say what anything costs. Like
right.
I leave that out,
You're
but I
mindful of
get.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I try to cover any kind of like California THC little logo that's on a product. I try to cover that logo up. That's advice that I got from somebody that works for the Facebook Meta Instagram.
the
So
meta
I've
the
stuck.
meta Facebook
They
world.
told me that 3 years ago, and I have stuck with it. And every once in a while, I'll post something with it, and some of the time it does get taken down, and I'm like, okay, that person was right. I should listen to this.
Yeah, no, you know what? It's so funny. You kind of you do the same thing that I do. So when I hear any type of tactic or advice to get around Facebook or Instagram's algorithm that tracks or censors cannabis content, like, I stick with it. And I'm just wondering, like, I always wonder, is there this magical playbook somewhere that's living? I know that there is, because if you're a Fortune 500 company and you're paying, you have a huge ad budget within Facebook, you've got a dedicated account manager, you've got Facebook doing presentations every quarter, come visiting you, so I would imagine that some of these bigger brands maybe have that playbook that they just know how to get around it. But for the small to medium size, brand or agency trying to run ads, it's a tough world out there. It's not easy.
It is. It's very tough. The first ad I ever tried to run on Facebook for Beowulf was a aerial picture of me laying down on a deck, and I like have a bong in one hand and I'm looking at it. And the first time I tried to put it through, it got flagged for prostitution.
What?
Yes. And then when I said it wasn't prostitution, I think it was the angle and everything of the, not my, I was fully dressed and everything, but I think it was the angle of the bong that they didn't really pick up what it was, and it went through and it was miraculous. And the ad lasted for however long on there. But I just think that they miss tell you why you are getting something removed.
Right.
And
yeah, or it's just all kind of up in the air and they're deciding on the go, and they don't have a topic to categorize for that specific issue at the moment. So they just throw it under something, they lump it into something else. Like, I also follow some guys on Twitter that are focused on like Wall Street market corruption. And the guy was talking about a play in the stock market on YouTube, and his video was flagged by YouTube for like COVID related stuff. And he wasn't talking about COVID at all in the video. So
did he say the word strain? Because that happens to me sometimes when I use the word strain on Instagram. It automatically gets like marked with one of those COVID warning things because I've said strain.
Whoa, really?
Yeah, isn't that weird?
That's so weird. Like, COVID can't own the entire like dictionary of words. You know what I mean?
Right?
Like strain is such an ambiguous, it could be used in so many different ways, right? Like, you could talk about strains of anything. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's all over the place. I don't know how, like, you've been in marketing and I've thought about this several times. Like, how does this play out, right? Like, you hear about, the far right and those people starting different social media accounts and whatnot. And I don't know how well that will turn out, just because you're going to have one side talking to each other in like an echo chamber, right? But then you've got these quote unquote open platforms that are censoring people based on things that they deem is against their guidelines. So where do the people go? I don't, it's strange.
Yeah, I mean, and it sucks to say everywhere, because like it's exhausting to be on 25 different platforms, just to try to get your message out there. But I honestly encourage people to just like, it's as frustrating as it is. I always encourage people. It's like, maybe you get censored, maybe you get post removed, whatever it is. But it's just kind of like the social media platform shoved you a little bit. Maybe you got your account removed. They shoved you really hard, but you just got to get back up if you care about your message that much. So
that's true.
Yeah, like I got my like fourth deletion from TikTok last month. So I'm taking like a month or so off of TikTok. Just I'll come back with a new account maybe next month or the month after, and I'll regroup on that. And sometimes it frustrates me in the moment when I get removed, because I put in a lot of hard work and I do put out a lot of education, and yeah, I put out funny stuff too, but like I'm not trying to cross any lines. I'm not doing anything wild. I'm talking to whoever wants to hear what I have to say. So I don't think that my accounts are ever worth deleting, and I'm sure many people who get their accounts deleted feel the same way, but it's all still, we got to put the message out. So I hate to say it, but we got to deal with the censorship until something happens, like for real with cannabis. I don't know how many percentages of the world will need to be fully, like cannabis is legal for social media platforms to accept it more. or what kind of destigmatization we need to do to make it more like acceptable around family, like how alcohol is.
Right.
I'm not saying like smoking it like in front of small children. I'm saying like it's a like TikTok wants to be a family friendly platform. So like, what's the harm in talking about the planet?
No, totally. Yeah. And you just exemplified that the resiliency of the industry operators. I mean, I love it, Baylee. You're absolutely right. It's frustrating. Most times, you're not wrong to feel that way. And your account, shouldn't be looked at as being, something that they want to remove, but it happens. And we got to keep pushing forward. We got to keep educating, keep removing the stigma, because if we don't, no one else will. We know that, the government won't, right? And it seems like they're doing everything they can at this point to kind of keep it suppressed. So um, let's keep fighting the good fight.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Is there anything else that's top of mind that you want to leave the audience with before we wrap up here?
Ooh, let's see. Top of mind. Okay, so here's a thought that I'll leave you with. So you ever see those scenes in movies when like something is really dark and like a whole bunch of little bits of light start shining through, like maybe it's like the side of a barn and like, gunfire is happening and all these little, and you can see the beams of light. Okay,
Yes,
that's the
I'm seeing
cannabis
it right
industry.
now.
Yes,
Yes.
that's the cannabis industry. Okay, that is what cannabis is doing right now. We just keep poking more and more light through something very dark, and there's gonna be a moment where all of the light comes through, and it will happen. And so we just have to hang on. We have to, be use as much as we can of our energy to be activists wherever we are for whatever the cause is. I mean, like I'm in Texas right now, but I still care about something in Illinois. Like, pick something and put some energy into it to help make a change within the cannabis industry, within the cannabis, like the stigma issue, whatever calls to you within cannabis, and helping that light break through all the way, go for it.
I love that. That's an awesome visual. The light is gonna break through. We just got to keep poking those holes.
Yep, we do.
Awesome. Baylee, I really enjoyed our conversation. This was so much fun. Where can people find you on social media if they want to learn more or even perhaps hire you for your services?
Sure. So you can find me on most social media platforms as Baywolf, and that is zero as the O. And my company is Wolfpack, also a zero as the O. You can find us on Twitter as Wolfpack Howl and on Instagram as Wolfpack Mentality. And you can find all of this from our website, wolfpackmentality.com.
Boom. You heard it from the founder and CEO of Wolfpack herself, Miss Baylee Chapo. Really, really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you so much again.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed it too.
Yes. And thank you all for listening. Until next time. Bye.
Bye.